Look, we got a lot that we're going to cover today. My name is Dave, and I'm going to help the Metadata team MC and just kind of navigate this event today. I'm really excited. They're doing something that not a lot of B2B SaaS companies do, which is a press conference. And I'm a huge believer in, as a B2B SaaS brand today, building your own media company. You can go direct, reach your customers anywhere online through podcasting, social media, content. I personally, my strategy is not to wait around for analysts to write about us and validate us. And I've been working with the Metadata team. I'm just blown away by their approach to marketing. I think this is an awesome example of that. So shout out to them, and thanks for the opportunity to chat today. But it's not about me. It is about the Metadata team. And I'm excited that you're going to get to see everything that they're doing with the operating system for B2B marketing. Super exciting stuff. And for that, I want to welcome up someone who's become a friend of mine actually over the last year. I've gotten to know Gil and the Metadata team. We've been working really closely together, and he's even found ways to push me personally and professionally. I love his vision for what Metadata is doing. I think he has a very clear focus on a real pain point in the market. I think Metadata is in a unique position to solve that problem. So I'm excited that you're going to get to see the future of Metadata today. And now, without further ado, I'd like to welcome up my friend and founder and CEO of Metadata, Gil Allouche.
Thank you, Dave. And thanks everyone for joining us today for our first ever press conference. B2B marketing is tough. A new VP of marketing has essentially a year and a half to prove that she can build pipeline for sales. 18 months or she's out the door. And that goes for all of us. There is pressure from management, the board, there is pressure from sales, and not always a lot of guidance or support to make it happen. As a marketer, you spend your time on tactical execution, trying everything that's worked for you in the past to generate that pipeline. Lead generation, webinars, events, SEO, SEM, PPC, ABM, content marketing. The list goes on and on. Sometimes it feels like you're juggling too many things and you don't really know what works and what doesn't. You have a limited budget for technology and over 9,000 technologies to choose from. Which one is going to be my silver bullet? And your team? We hire people or an agency to overcome our deficiencies. They all do the technical, repetitive, and mundane tasks. And that's expensive. It is slow and it's prone to errors. Marketing technologies, in particular marketing automation, promised to take over the technical, repetitive, and mundane tasks of B2B marketing. But here we are. It's 2022. We have an ever-growing marketing team and agencies doing tactical work just to keep the lights on. I lived through this experience for 10 plus years as a marketer, and I couldn't figure out why it had to be this way. I knew it could be better, but I didn't really know what better looked like. And I certainly did not want to build it. 9,000 technologies is a red ocean, a busy space. VCs told me this is going to be an uphill battle. And they were right. I was struggling in my role as a marketing leader, manually testing everything. I had 17 windows open like a stock day trader on speed, manually running A/B testing and constantly monitoring performance, trying to prove my marketing had a positive ROI. Meanwhile, I saw B2C companies using big data, AI models, and cutting-edge technology to automate everything in their campaigns. What the hell? These guys get to use all this amazing technology in B2C, running tens of thousands of campaigns without lifting a finger, while sipping a glass of whiskey like a modern-day Don Draper. Why should they get this amazing technology? Just because their budgets are bigger? I wanted that too. So I started buying niche marketing technologies, predictive analytics vendors, data providers, A/B testing software, and marketing automation platform. It sucked. It took forever to onboard, was super manual to use, and the end result was always a bunch of CSV files. Now what? I still had to do all the work myself, and the insights were often wrong. These technologies stopped at recommendations and next best action, but I still had to do all the execution myself, and I was the biggest bottleneck. That frustration, combined with the gap I saw between what's technologically possible, like machine learning models, RESTful APIs, big data, robotic process automation, and then the tools that were available for purchase and use for a B2B marketer. That huge gap, it forced me to start Metadata. Most B2B MarTech I saw was smoke and mirrors. A lot of sales, great marketing, and awesome messaging and positioning, and also broken promises. No real deep technology was put together to truly solve what I consider to be the biggest problem in B2B: consistent, predictable growth that gets better and better and cheaper over time. I also saw a future where every core platform would be operatable using RESTful APIs. That meant instead of clicking on multiple screens for 30 minutes to create one single campaign, you can send instructions via code and run 100 campaigns in 30 seconds. And that appealed to me. I could build a platform that would operate, not replace, my existing marketing and sales technologies in a scalable, automated way. This will allow me to clear out my schedule from mundane tasks and get me strong, tangible results, aka pipeline, that I can stand behind. And that will get me a seat at the table for longer than 18 months. This is why I built Metadata. Can you ignore a problem that is so obvious and affects so many people? Do you know a marketer who loves waking up at 2 a.m. in the morning, frightened because they forgot a letter in their UTM tag? The opportunity, as well as the problem, is too big to ignore. We had to start somewhere. So we set out to solve the biggest, most important problem in B2B marketing first: generating consistent, predictable demand by automating paid campaigns. I thought if we do this right, two things will happen. First, using our technology, marketers will get a seat at the table. Even if they don't do anything else, if they produce qualified pipeline for sales and sales closes that pipeline into revenue, they will get to stay and figure out everything else out. Marketers will love us. Second, doing this will free up marketers from the most technical, repetitive, and mundane tasks out there, so they can focus on strategy, creative, and branding. You know, what marketers originally signed up for. And if we make these things happen, we'll gain the right to execute our true vision and go beyond paid campaigns to automate all of the other mundane tasks in B2B marketing. And we really did it. In just the last 2 years, we've automated paid campaigns for over 250 companies, executing over 92,000 campaigns, averaging over 360 campaigns per customer. Metadata saved marketers over 180,000 hours of low-value, excruciatingly painful work while delivering superb and tangible pipeline results. The Metadata platform sourced and influenced over $2 billion in pipeline at a spend-to-pipeline ratio as high as $1 to $30. Money in, money out. That's a profit unit. Last year, our own marketing team spent $850,000 and generated over $11 million in pipeline. They made more money than they spent. Some of our customers have won awards for campaigns that were run by AI. And our customers tell us they pay back their investment in around 6 months, some much, much faster, making marketing teams a profit unit. That was our first task. That was our first win. But our vision has always been to build the operating system for the B2B marketer, a command and control system for the marketing team. The first technology that you don't have to log into, yet it's constantly doing a lot of work for you. A system that doesn't only automate the work for you, but it does so using the most battle-tested, effective playbooks and templates it learned by executing millions of marketing tasks. You get a technology with the best practices built in, a whole library of them. Imagine a system that automatically pulls your top-performing closing keywords from Gong directly into your SDR campaigns and Google AdWords, or a system that taps into your ad budget in QuickBooks, identifying a white space in your target audience with a potential revenue opportunity, applies a demand gen playbook with predicted ROI, and launches those programs to drive more demand. All of those things are possible. And this is what you can expect from Metadata. This is our vision for the future of B2B marketing. Thank you.
That was awesome. I'm going to wait for Gil because I want to chat with him for a minute. However, there he is.
I showed up.
I wrote, okay, two, this is separate from anything else. Before we get two stats that I wrote down. Well, number one is the 17 tabs one is so real. If you've lived life as a marketer, that was the one that in chat, everybody was like, this is too real. 17 tabs. I also saw that, some people thought that 17 tabs might actually be on the low end. But my favorite stat as a marketing leader, as like CMO, is 183,000 hours saved. It's just like, I think the thing that you and I always talk about is just like how marketing today has not become about strategy and creativity and creative problem solving. It's become about this almost like admin repetitive type of work. But your mission is not to like replace people in this, right? Like can maybe just give some color on like how you see that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We're not looking to replace people doing all things. We want to take away the things that they didn't sign up for when they went into marketing. So things that kind of everyone hates doing. All the moving data from one place to another, having all these open windows, all these spreadsheets, doing attribution, point and clicking for hours just to set up campaigns, all of the technical, repetitive, mundane work that makes you a zombie. All of that, let's take over that, and let's have you work on strategy, creative ideas, content creation, fun stuff.
I love that, and I love the message of like just giving the power back to marketers to solve those problems. Okay, we could chat about this forever. Clearly, we're working together, but we got a guest up here, and I want to let you do the intro. So why don't we welcome him up?
Let's welcome Mark Organ. See if you can come on stage. So Mark has been just kind of before he joins. Mark has been my CEO coach for the last 3 years. He's been an investor. Um, and an advisor for me. He also is the founder and CEO of Eloqua, the first marketing automation system in MarTech. So clearly, look up to him as a category creator as well as a very experienced CEO. He went with me in thick and thin. So
wait, can I ask you a question? How did you and Mark initially get connected? By the way.
That's a good story, although I don't know if it reflects positively on me. I stalked Mark for a while. So I wanted Mark as my coach for quite a bit of time. And one time I caught an email. It was an Eventbrite link for one of his events. This is like years ago. And I went to the event really early. It was in Merlot in San Francisco. I remember that. And hey, Mark, I was just telling them how I stalked you and how you became my coach.
That's okay. You can finish up that story.
All right. So yeah, I made myself sit next to him and started chatting him up, making sure that he knows I exist and that I want him to be my coach. He, of course, was running a company, could not be less interested. He didn't even know who I was. But then I repeatedly, I subscribed to that Eventbrite link so that every time he had a dinner, although I was not invited to any of them, I showed up and I always sat next to him. And fast forward 4 or 5 dinners, he finished his role at the last company, and I became his first customer as a coachee.
This guy looks familiar. I've seen him at every dinner. Who is this guy? Okay, Mark. So Mark, over to you. I think it'd be great just to have some context on, first of all, why you invested in metadata. And you mentioned this yesterday, but I think you said you've invested in 27 companies, only 2 of them in MarTech, which is, to me, stands out because you are former CEO of Eloqua and Influitive. Like your background is MarTech, but this is only one of 2 of 27 you invested in the MarTech side. So why did you invest in metadata?
Yeah, it's a great question, and that maybe by founding these companies and working with MarTech.
He's gone. Poof. That's okay. We'll give him a second. We'll give Mark a second to come back. But anyway, where is Mark? He's like in a dungeon today, I think.
I think he's in Utah on a family vacation.
It's okay. So maybe in the meantime, like let's keep talking about the operating system piece here. Like where did this, like, was this the initial vision that you had from metadata from the beginning, or do you feel like this is something you've kind of navigated through, going through demand gen? Like, does this come all the way back to the beginning?
Sorry about that. Looks like my thing cut up. So yeah, I mean, I've been involved in marketing companies for a long time, and I know how hard it is to build a truly scalable company that has platform potential. And so I've seen so many, and metadata is one of the first I've seen in a long time that has the ability to replace so many other marketing technology solutions. It's what I call true platform potential, like Eloqua had, and and HubSpot and Marketo and these sort of solutions like that. So that's one big reason. So yeah, as you probably know, if you're going to be doing angel investing, you really need a chance for multi-billion-dollar potential. If you're going to do that kind of investing, and I saw that in Metadata. And it's not just the product that is really phenomenal you've been hearing about. It's the team. I've had a chance to work with the team, Gil in particular, and seeing just the incredible way that they execute. So I've used Jack Welch's 4 E's and a P model for how to assess CEOs and leadership teams. The first E is energy, and you probably got a bit of that from Gil today. Incredible energy that he brings to the table every day, and the rest of the team. The second is energizer, the ability to energize other people. Third is edge, the ability to make difficult decisions, to tell good from bad, to be able to cut out the things that are not working and triple down on things that are working. And finally, execution. You've heard some of that today. I mean, this is a team that has really, really executed with a product set that is revolutionizing the way that marketing is done. And I don't use those words lightly. So, Metadata solves a critical problem that I struggled with. I'm a marketer by background myself, in addition to being CEO, where, again, doing so many of the things in the background that used to take a lot of time, that is now done almost automatically. So if you think about operating system, you think about this thing in the background that really takes care of everything. And another big thing that really hasn't been mentioned yet, but is super important to me, is the ability to be scientific and experimental and iterative in marketing. For me, the companies that win are the companies that learn. And the way that you learn is by being able to rapidly iterate on all the key findings from every campaign that you run. Right? You want to be able to get to what is the exact right target market with the exact right message, right? The right time, the right offer. And that requires a lot of repetition, and doing a lot of repetition and iteration, that requires a lot of cycles for marketing. And frankly, most marketing teams can't do it. They completely break down. And the marketing technology is not designed for that. Okay? It's not designed to have this kind of experimental, scientific approach to things. And that's why I think what metadata is doing is so revolutionary, is that it makes it really easy to have this kind of scientific and rapid tempo learning approach in marketing. So you're not just running amazing campaigns, but you're learning how to run great campaigns. You're learning how to win in your marketplace. And I think that's the way to build a multi-billion-dollar company, right? You need to have this kind of thing in your company. And if you're going to go and innovate somewhere, demand generation is a great place to do it, right? In the B2B tech world, which is where I've spent my career, demand gen really is the bottleneck for most companies, right? Think about it. If we generated more qualified leads, we could raise as much money as we wanted. We could go and hire whoever we wanted to hire, right? It's solving a key bottleneck issue. So I believe that not only is Metadata going to become a unicorn company, but it's going to create a lot of new unicorns. So I'd advise all the marketers who are here listening today to really check out this technology. This is the route for you having a seat at the table, because you're going to help your company learn how to operate better, how to execute better. And in the most
Mark,
important
thank you.
part of the business, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm going to hop in. Mark, thank you. I love the line about unicorns. If we can create more unicorns in this room, it's amazing. And just to put a bow on everything you said, coming from the scientific CEO marketer himself, the more you can bring the scientific side to marketing and show that you're driving revenue, that is the key to growing today. And I hope people take what you said to heart about owning revenue and especially changing the demand gen function. So Mark, awesome. Great to see you. Thank you. Gil, Mark, we'll see you both. Gil, we'll see you back in the Q&A. And now we're going to switch gears actually, and we're going to welcome up a handful of marketers. I guess it depends on how many you can fit in a handful. But I'm going to welcome up Kaylee Edmondson. She's a director of demand gen at Brightwheel. Marcel Santilli, he's a head of marketing at Scale AI. He blew my mind with a fun fact behind the scenes before. I'm still thinking about it. Mike Smith, who's a VP of revenue marketing at Launch Darkly. And Jason, right here, Jason, VP of marketing at Metadata. So just to transition, like we want to do this quick discussion with a bunch of marketers who have made automation core to the marketing funnel, to building a revenue marketing machine. So Marcel, I want to kick it to you first. If you could just talk about like how important is automation in a modern marketing function, and really, running that revenue machine today. Where does that fit in your world?
Yeah, for me, automation is less about automation itself. It's more about workflow. What does it take to go from 0 to 1? How can we up the speed and move faster? I think a lot of marketing tech nowadays, it just creates more work. You're just trying to band-aid a bunch of stuff together, integrate systems, and at the end of the day, you're 6 months later, and now you start paying attention to your pipeline and revenue and realize you haven't made any difference at all, right? And so I love technologies like Metadata that enable us to just get things out quickly, iterate quickly, and just remove things that are really unnecessary, right? And so I remember a quote from someone in my team after I introduced Metadata. It's like, it kind of feels like cheating a little bit, right? And so for me, I love that stuff. Like anytime we can, cheat to get ahead and get results and keep our jobs as marketers, I'm all for it, And so for me, it's less about pretty stats and insights, and it's more about getting things done and going from click to revenue.
Well, like you joked about cheating, but it's actually not. It's really like your job as the marketing leader is to solve the business problem. And at least what I've seen is like the CEO, leadership, whoever, they don't care how you execute it, that you get hired to do that job. And so it's like, hey, Kaylee, this is the number, go hit it. Here's your tools. Like, they often don't care if you hired 100 people to do it or you found a piece of software to do it. And so I think that it's nice to hear you say that. Okay. Kaylee, over to you. Where you have an interesting background. Before this, you were at Chili Piper, running demand gen there. Now you're at Brightwheel. Where does automation sit in your worldview of marketing?
Yeah. I think +1 to everything that Marcel just kicked it off with. I think that in my case, I almost always join as one of the first handful of marketers, right? Coming in with like maybe a tech stack, or maybe not, maybe what they think is a tech stack, but nothing's really talking to each other. And so you spend all of your time trying to make sense of at least what you have accessible today. And a lot of that does end in like mundane tasks, like things as silly as like dealing with bids and budgets and optimizations in a platform, all the way over to like trying to deal with whoever owns your CRM to get an export of your current customer list so you're not wasting dollars, like small things over to large things, right? Like system optimization, making sure your tools are talking to each other. It's all over the place. And so, I think obviously it's critical to figure out, to Marcel's point, what's going to get you to that 0 to 1, and where can you free up your day to spend time in the places that actually matter and are going to move the needle for your business. Because your CEO doesn't care how you're actually spending your time, as long as the revenue is coming in and you can prove where it's coming from.
And there's a specific, I think you had mentioned there's a specific like metadata thing that you've done, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, we used metadata, and it was like the unlock for us. When I was the sole marketer for such a long time at Chili Piper, I was the only person operating demand gen there for over a year, and found metadata, which was like the saving grace, to allow me to get out of LinkedIn and out of Facebook, and actually reach our customers on Facebook, which we weren't doing successfully before, to get out of all of that manual, this system's not talking to this system's not talking to that system. And it was like, honestly, the biggest unlock that we had, so that we could really go move the needle and start focusing on figuring out what our story is, starting a podcast, like all of those things that we really needed to get to. But at the end of the day, you're never going to find time to prioritize them if you can't get out of the performance marketing world.
One time I woke up on a Saturday morning to realize that I had accidentally spent 30 grand on AdWords.
I can relate.
With all the wrong keywords. And that was a fun conversation. And my boss was like, well, it's your budget, buddy. So you can eat it or not. Okay. Mike, what's your automation story on here on Automation Hour with Metadata?
Hi, press. I see you all out there. Thanks for coming. There's so many right now. Yeah, we'll get to you at the Daily Bugle in a second. Thanks, Dave. Hi, Mike Smith, VP of Revenue Marketing at LaunchDarkly, and I've been a Metadata customer for almost 5 years. Like, I'm OG in love with this company, and that's at 2 different companies. And for me, I'm going to take it a different direction, Dave. It's less about automation. And for me, I spent a career just not being served with Excel spreadsheets, more Excel spreadsheets, junior marketers. No, I mean, they're great, right? I was one once. Agencies that are like purpose built for B2C, but they're like, I think we can help you. And then B2C technologies, which are just transactional conversions, and their feedback loop is, a few days when a B2B sales cycle is months, right? And then B2B came into my life and I finally felt seen. Like I felt served. For me, it's more about this like middleware software that sits between Salesforce, Marketo, these other tools in between my advertising platforms. And they built a solution and a platform that serves B2B marketers, where I spent a whole career trying to make B2C solutions like fit my needs. And so that's what I love about Metadata.
Well, like just to be able to have that, to give that back, as opposed to like, oh, that's how you do it. So this is going to be 30% of my time is going to be built on making this system that's essential to how I do marketing. And then if you can hire software, you can hire software or people to solve the problem. And increasingly, it seems to be software is the best path. Jason, what about you in your world? By the way, someone in chat said, Jason, I see your ad on LinkedIn a
lot. Sorry about that. Yeah,
no, I love that. But I mean, like, I'm sure like dog fooding metadata has been a key part to like the funnel for you all, right? Like how does metadata play? What's the meta piece of this? Like,
exactly.
Using your own product.
Yeah. And I feel like the grandpa of ops. I think I was like one of the first people that had a VP of marketing operations title ever. And so like I've been automating myself out of things for as long as I can remember. And that's actually why I created this role for myself here at Metadata, because I saw when I was at another company, I saw the technology. I was really steeped in the ops world. And I was like, this is different and this is new. And this is something I haven't seen before. And I was so enthralled with it. It was like, I don't want to just buy it. I actually want to be a part of it. And so luckily, Gil and I saw eye to eye on a lot of things. And here we are. But, as a single marketer, which I was for quite a while until Mark joined, and not really as an ops person, not super adept at like banging things out in the platforms. There's no way that we could have grown the way that we did had I not had metadata. And so it would have been like, I don't even know, maybe 3 ads instead of like the 3,000 that we did. Probably wouldn't have found conversation ads. And so,
well, like even as somebody like on the other side of this, like it becomes hard because like you need someone who understands each platform, and like this person may have done a ton with Facebook, but maybe, she doesn't have deep experience with AdWords, and you're just like at the stage of trying to get stuff out the door. And you got to decide, like, as the one person marketing team right now, do I have time to train? Like, am I going to spend my time doing that?
Yeah. And like, I think for myself, I had run one ad on Facebook and it was like a personal ad. I sponsored my own post or something. Like that was the experience that I had running Facebook ads. And so, yeah, I mean, it was just a huge help for me. And not only a help, but even had I had a team, you know what I mean? It was like, even in some of the bigger places that I've worked, we weren't even doing this amount of experimentation, that we were able to do at Metadata with like 1 and 2 people. And so, yeah, it's really been that part has been a benefit to me. And even somebody, like grandpa of ops over here, just having seen a lot of that automation in my life. It's smarter automation, you know what I mean? So it's not just like, it's not the automation that you like have to set up, you know what I mean? That then does everything that you told it to do. It's like you give it some guardrails and then it's like smart enough to, really think it through and figure it out. And so, yeah, it's really helped me scale.
Love it. All right. Go ahead, Mike.
Dave, I have a quick color comment to what Jason just said. So a quick thing that we spun up this week, we're sort of coalescing around this idea of surging accounts, like finding metrics that identify if an account is surging. We created a Salesforce field around that, and we created a metadata campaign to target those accounts in like 30 minutes. And it just read the Salesforce field, pulled in the ad creative, and now we're targeting surging accounts. And couldn't do that 4.5 years ago with spreadsheets.
I love like little named campaigns like that. Like I've always found, like, as a marketer, that's where I get inspiration from. Like I'll hear, oh, this guy Mike was talking about, they did this surging accounts campaign. Like I want to go do that. I love those micro gives. Okay. Producers are in my ear right now saying that we got to move on to the next session. So as Kaylee was giving me a hard time before, she knows that I would love to just actually kind of hijack this and we could all talk about marketing for the next hour, but that's not what we're here to do. Kaylee, Mike, Marcel, Jason, thank you. A lot of +1s for the home video setup. So keep doing your thing with wherever you're shopping. I think they mostly are talking about Marcel and Mike's is cool because he's got the drums, but Marcel's got the mood lights and the dog. So anyway, good to see you all. Next, we're actually going to get into some of the product stuff. It's not just marketers talking about marketing. We're actually going to show you some stuff. And hey, there he is, Logan. So I'm going to get out of the way. And next up, we have Logan Naveau. He is the Senior Director of Product Growth at Metadata. He's going to show you what all this stuff could actually look like in the product and where Metadata is going to go from here. So Logan, I'm going to take a sip of my water and head backstage, and you got the mic now. Let it rip.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Dave. So I'm really excited to share with you all what we've been working on kind of behind the scenes. So without further ado, let's get right into it. One of the things that should resonate with every B2B marketer on this call is all of these tactics that you kind of see in front of you. Now, what might be a little strange is to kind of see them all in one place. And that's because the status quo for most marketers is running these tactics manually, going to each individual channel, actually executing, and then using a spreadsheet to plan it all or keep track of what's going on, or God forbid, another software to actually orchestrate all of these different plays. Now, you can still do that through metadata. It's going to be in one consolidated area, so we can remove a lot of those mundane, tedious, and technical tasks that are repetitive that you have to do in each individual channel. But where this is actually going to really show its strength and kind of take it to the next level is through the automation. And so let me show you what that is really going to look like once we get it going here. So one of the amazing things about marketing is there's so much data. And that's a problem because it's usually in individual silos all over the place. But when you connect it to metadata, and no pun intended, we actually will be able to read all of that metadata, deliver tangible insights, and then make recommendations and either automatically execute those recommendations for B2B marketers or allow them to kind of put their own flavor and spin on each one of those tactics. So let's drill down, let's take a look. So let's look at this third row here, right? Where it's, the data is telling us that 73% of upsells are coming from customers in 2 specific industries using a very specific feature. And we can pull all that data from the CRM. We can pull it from tools like Pendo, or if that's being pushed into the CRM. So it's pretty easy to kind of capture that. But then we can forecast based on historical performance and say, hey, if we ran a campaign to these 2 segments, we can actually increase NRR by 11% this quarter. So we'd like to run some campaigns. And in this case, maybe we've already run it in the past and we've already seen some great success. And some of those campaigns might be, hey, let's go ahead and run an ungated case study to all of those users who haven't quite adopted that feature yet, showing the value of that feature. And we compare it with something like a drift playbook where, we're reading the CRM, we're seeing who the account manager is or the rep for that account is. Then we go to Chili Piper and we pull their booking link, put it in that drift playbook and say, hey, we recommend you chat with your rep about the value upgrading your account might bring. And we compare that with, LinkedIn conversation ad where we're running sort of the same play, and then also run email to the entire buying committee or maybe just the DMs while highlighting what it's going to do for maybe those end users who are in the tool all day, every day. So you can literally just click autopilot. All of those will launch and go live. And then we'll also have another campaign for the featured option, right? So both of these tactics will be distinct, personalized, and we'll have multivariate testing where we're constantly optimizing towards the bottom of funnel results based on the data of those 2 tactics. So, hey, even if it didn't build the perfect campaign from day one, over time, we're going to figure out, hey, this tactic's working really well. This other one, maybe not so much. So let's go ahead and pull budget from, maybe your campaign A and go redistribute it over to tactic B. So another example might be like the second one, right? So, hey, your LinkedIn company page is dropping in its followers, right? We see that other companies that are similar to you have 37% more followers. And we can see that companies with a higher SSI actually have a better job closing their deals. So we can automatically run, a LinkedIn page follower campaign, and we can kind of pair that with maybe some like CTV campaigns to specific users. And maybe that's not a tactic the B2B marketer wants to run. Perhaps, maybe your page followers really hasn't come up in a leadership meeting or in the board meeting lately. So we can just say, hey, no thanks. I don't want to run that tactic. I want to kind of move on. And then the last one we'll look at, just for sake of time here, is this top one. And this is a big one, right? Like, hey, based on where you are in your pacing to quarter, we see that you're 6.4% behind that pacing number. That's a problem, right? Like, you are not on track to hit your number at the end of the day. And we can even project like, hey, you've got 6 days to take action. Otherwise, you're only going to have a 27% chance of hitting your quarterly goal. So the good news is like, we still have time, but we don't have a whole heck of a lot of time to turn it around. So our recommendation would be like, let's run a full court press to all of the campaign tactics that we want to run on all the channels. Let's hit up like very high intent audiences. But because this is such a critical mission, right? Like, you can't afford to not let this one run very well. You want to get in the weeds, and you kind of want to understand like, hey, what are the granular variables that we're running? What are those tactics? And let me, kind of approve them one by one, or put my own sort of flavor on there. And that's what we can do. And we'll see when we hit this next, like that like button or that approve button, it'll take us to this next screen where we can actually see that campaign built out. So step one is you got to give us some parameters, right? Like, we'll go ahead and make some recommendations. And in this case, hey, if you need to get a $3 million pipeline goal within 2 months, like, we're recommending that you need a budget of $407,000. Now, I'm sure every marketer here can relate, like, hey, I don't have a lot of time and I don't have the budget that I need, but I still need to hit my number, right? Like, what's new? So we can adjust that down to the budget that we do have. And in this case, it's $320,000. Now, when you hit generate, Metadata will recalculate its recommendations based on the new parameters that you've given the system, the tool. So we've gone in there, we've made our little adjustments, and then let's go ahead and take a look at all those campaigns and programs that we want to run in tandem. So here you can see all of it, right? I'm about to target these, 1.7 million accounts, these 2.1 million contacts. I've got 458 unique experiments that I'm about to launch across all of these different tools, technologies, and channels. And actually, with that new calibrated recommendation, we're actually predicting that you're going to hit $3.2 million in pipeline within the next 2 months. So then we can go down literally like variable by variable and turn things on or off. So like, hey, LinkedIn, we're going to spend, $94,000 there. We're going to spend $34,000 on Facebook. We're going to spend $119 on Google. But maybe YouTube, we just don't have that new video creative from our agency yet, right? Or it's outdated and we don't really just want to run that tactic for whatever reason. So we can turn that off, and Metadata will redistribute that $73,000 to the other channels and plays that you have. Now, because this is urgent, we're also going to recommend some high intent audiences, right? So we're going to recommend retargeting audiences. We're going to recommend, Salesforce audiences that might already be in cycle, or maybe there's some deals that are parked in subsequent quarters. We can see if we can accelerate and kind of bring them into this quarter and close them now. We can also pull in, MQLs from HubSpot or people who have recent engagement. We can pull in high intent audiences from Bombora or G2. But the big thing here is like, it's a combination of like your first party data, the third party data from MetaMatch, and it's going to be enhanced data from the channels as well. So you get the best of all of the different worlds in one place. Then we can go through and look at the creatives, right? Like, hey, are these the tactics that I want to run? Because I turned off YouTube, we're automatically going to disable this video that we don't really want to run anymore. And then we can look at the CTAs, and maybe, we just don't do quotes at our org. So let's go ahead and turn that off. But we'll recommend, email subject lines. And as you can see, you can scroll right and you'll be able to look at every single variable. So like the text from the email subject lines, you can look at, the TV commercials you want to run, or whatever other tool or technology is really plugged in, you'll be able to approve it one by one. But once you hit launch campaign, that's where Metadata does the rest, right? We're actually going to build those 458 experiments automatically, AI kicks in and start optimizing your campaign, your budgets for that deep funnel pipeline generation. So obviously, since it's such a big priority for your org, it's probably not something you're going to want to just like hit autopilot on and then ignore. So one of the core values at Metadata is transparency. And this decision tree already exists today, but this is going to be the version 2.0, the expanded sort of decision tree, where you can come in and you'll be able to see every single move that the AI made on your behalf, when they made it, and why they made that pull too. So like if we look at these first two rows, we can see that, hey, we increased the daily budget on this campaign by 40% because we're seeing a large volume of MQLs come from it. That's a no-brainer. The next one says, hey, we decreased ad budget on this other campaign because it really wasn't delivering the results that you wanted, even just during that learning stage. So maybe we're going to pull that budget from like a TikTok campaign and we're going to redistribute it to like a LinkedIn in-mail campaign where we're really pushing for that meeting and asking for that conversation. Those already exist today, but where we're going is going to be the next level of AI. So, we'll be able to automatically create content like a blog post and post it for you. And we can, regularly schedule those postings if we want to increase our, regular following on our company pages. But we can pull the text from everything that you already have today. That could be, call transcript blogs. It could be your website. It could be content. It could be high-performing keywords or headlines that we're already running in different channels. And obviously, there's a whole plethora of different actions and decisions that we can kind of take. I would love to run through them one by one, but I know I'm running out of time here. So without further ado, I want to kind of just highlight like what we're doing is we're really breaking the 18-month cycle of that CMO, right? We're letting you kind of stop having to mortgage your long-term strategic initiatives for that unsustainable short-term growth tactics that you run. Right. And whether you want to spend your free time really getting to know your customer better, or you want to, take that unplugged PTO with your family, or maybe just, practice your Don Draper impression for that next, company event and sip whiskey all day, that's fine. Like Metadata will continue to work in the background. It'll continue to get smarter. It'll continue to produce pipeline while you're focusing on the other tasks that you got into marketing to do. So without further ado, I'd love to invite everyone back on stage here so we can go through the Q&A and the panel and answer any questions you guys might have.
Awesome. Love it. Chat was great during that. Jason, I'm going to kick it to you, given all the metadata questions, and let you kind of navigate this and figure out what stuff you want to talk through, given the time that we have left.
Great. Well, I saw one of the questions from Kristen. I love this question. It was about training data. So this is, predictive models they have to be based in a lot of historical data, right? Because we have to see everything that's gone on before in order to like make predictions and then figure out what to do next. So, we have a lot of this data already. So we're connected to a lot of our customers' systems. And so we see a lot of this stuff already happening. And we've been recording this and kind of keeping it for ourselves, but only activating through paid campaigns. And so as we kind of continue to grab this data, we'll see, all right, we have enough data in this area. Now we can like start to make predictions in this area and go like one concentric circle out from what we do today. And there's also other ways. Gil's more of the engineer here than I am for sure. But even outside of that, there's other ways to start building predictive models early and then refine them over time. I don't know if you want to add anything, Gil.
No, you nailed it. I think between the historical data and the real-time data from executing campaigns, we essentially see all the data in there.
Yeah. I thought I saw another one in just this. If not, I'll go to the Q&A. Oh, there's load old messages. I'm going to go to the Q&A. All right, I got a couple in here.
There's a bunch
aggregating data.
There's a bunch in chat too, and Mark was hollering that we would get to them. So just sorry to interrupt, but just make sure.
No, please. Yeah.
There's a bunch in the chat.
I lost
the chat and the Q&A.
Chat. There we go. If you see any in the chat, just feel free to bring them up. I'm having a hard time like navigating through the chat here, but somebody asked about connecting CRM, I think. And I think they were mentioning about like the data. So of course, if you have your CRM system and your CRM is just not well curated, like, if you don't take care of the data inside your CRM, and then you want to like expect systems to be able to make predictive recommendations and actions on that data, clean up your data first. I mean, that's what we all should be doing anyway. You know, no system, garbage in, kind of garbage out. And so I wouldn't say that we're going to build a system that's going to fix your data, at least not right away. So focus on your data. You know what I mean? And what you really want to focus on are your data points on the steps to revenue. And the more of those you have, and the more accurate data you have, just the more accurate models will be built on top of it, and actions will, recommendations will be given and actions taken.
Yeah, I'll chime in just for a second. Today we already do a little bit of that. So the system will do an audit on your data. If the data is dirty, it will tell you. It's just not enough data for statistical sample, or it's not clean enough. Some of it we can augment. So if the data is okay on like the opportunity, so like the start date, the end date, the size of the opportunity, the sales cycle, we're good. The rest, the company name, the buyers, the buying committee, the contacts, all of that we'll be able to augment for you, because we have this large database of 1.5 billion business profiles. But the core data needs to be there in order to make a good baseline. After that, after you start using metadata, doesn't matter if you'll run your email campaigns, your ad campaigns, outreach, so on and so forth, the real-time feedback will actually feed the remainder of the execution. So it's just a baseline that we start with from the CRM, and after that, metadata feeds all the data to do the training.
Thank you for that. Here's another one. How these are all going to be specific to metadata. So how extensive does your paid media need to be for this to be insightful? What about if you're in a very niche category?
Do you want to take that, Jason? Or would you like me to?
Yeah, I can start. Sure. I mean, so extensive your paid media needs to be. I mean, if you think about it, if you're spending $500, $1,000, $2,000 a month, and you're thinking like, well, my cost per click is, $5 to $12. If you think about the number of clicks you're going to get to be able to make decisions off of that, using that amount of spend, it's pretty low. And so some of those decisions, those recommendations and actions might not be or won't be as accurate as if you were spending more money, getting more experiments, more money, more clicks through the system. And then we can see actually what happens after that. So like our current customers that come on with, just for paid media with us, we'd like them to be spending at least $20,000 a month across their paid digital channels, because that's what we've really saw as gives the system the best amount of data to be able to make those accurate decisions and really drive that predictable pipeline, because we're looking for predictability here.
Also, from a cost perspective, you don't want to spend $5,000 on any platform to spend effectively 5,000. That's not a good ratio. So the 20 also comes from at least 1 to 4, 1 to 5 at least, so that it's effective for you. If you only have 4 or 5,000 in your budget, you should do it effectively, but you should do it kind of on your own with the system natively, because that's going to be the most cost-effective way of doing it.
Got it. So basically, kind of once you start to hit a little bit of scale with paid is where this really starts to be a good fit.
Yes, for the paid portion of metadata, that's exactly right. For other portions, it could be unrelated.
I got two more for at least right now. Coming back to you, how would you explain this differently than an ABM platform?
Oh man, that's a great question. So ABM is a methodology. I know we got into this thing where now there are ABM platform, but ABM is a methodology, and the methodology says don't spray and pray, just go after particular companies that will buy your product, use it, and be happy, and you'll be able to retain them, versus going after everyone and then be surprised by who's coming into your pipeline. That's the ABM methodology. So ABM for metadata is just that. It's a methodology. You can run ABM campaigns in metadata, and in fact, since we're B2B focused, all of our campaigns are B2B. Even if you're doing brand awareness, you're doing email campaigns like on conversational ads, even if you're running Facebook Messenger campaigns in metadata, it doesn't matter. The medium, the channel, the campaign type, all of that aside, all of the campaigns you're running with metadata, by definition, have a discrete list of companies and particular people within those companies that you're targeting, because you don't want to waste your time or your money on the wrong prospects, wrong companies, the wrong people. So that's kind of the difference between saying ABM and what metadata does. Metadata is a general platform that will allow you to run all kinds of campaigns, ABM being one of them. You can also run lead gen and brand awareness and sales acceleration campaigns and a bunch of other things that are outside of ABM.
Beautiful. Here's another one. Take a drink of water if you need it. These are great. Are you aggregating data from all customers to determine best practices and tech stack winners?
We are actually doing that. So anonymously, without of course sharing any PII or any particular data that is discrete, because we also delete that after using it. The system and the decision tree and the heuristics and the machine learning models, all of those constantly train. They get better confidence rate, but they also learn patterns. And so over time, metadata learns for a particular cohort, like particular industry, sizes of companies, the TAM that they go after, the total addressable market they go after, what works and what doesn't. So when you start using metadata by analyzing your historical data, understanding what category you play in, who are your buyers, how long your sales cycle is, how big your total, your TCV and average deal size are, it will start matching the patterns it learned from the past, and those are the playbooks we're talking about, with your marketing. So you essentially get to learn from hundreds of thousands of other campaigns that the system did before. Similarly to when you hire someone like the very talented panels we have right here, each and every one of them, when you bring them into your company, they come with a lot of knowledge, and they will apply that pattern recognition they have into your company. Similarly, you get that with a platform like Metadata.
How does this work if I don't want to gate my content?
Jason,
yes.
or any of the others. I think there's a lot of opinion about that.
Yeah, I'll just touch on it real quick, because we don't gate our content and we still use metadata. And so, there's other ways of measuring success on content than leads. And, we can do that. We were able to do that pretty lightly in metadata. And actually, in a really, really soon upcoming release, we'll actually have Google Analytics goal data embedded in the metadata platform, and then also optimizing to the goals that you decide in Google Analytics that you want to optimize to. So, for example, if you're really running, content and you're not gating it, what's the right measure of like what's working and what's not? Well, for me, did they scroll 75% down through the content, and did they see at least another page on the site? And you can actually set that up as a goal in GA and then start having metadata optimized to that. And so, so absolutely use metadata for lead gen campaigns, but also for ungated content campaigns.
Nice. So that's actually like a goal. That's one best practice I guess people could take away, is like one way to measure that type of campaign. What's your recipe again? It's scroll 75% and what?
See more than that page.
Awesome. And is that something that you're looking at like all the time?
Yeah, for the content campaigns, definitely. And we use that to determine like which of these things, like pull better, and we do more of that type of content.
Awesome.
I see Kaylee, Marcel, and Mike nodding. I bet you have your own experiences from that.
Yeah, I was just going to comment. Then what you'd want to do is retarget the people that reach that goal with a more stronger CTA, like a demo or a trial, right? Yep. So ungated is something we're experimenting with too. But metadata generates a ton of great leads too with gating as well. So doing both, I think, is the good way to split the balance.
Hey, Mike, on that point, and then we can hear from Marcel and Kaylee also. But how much of that is like pre-mapped out, like from a funnel standpoint? Like, are you mapping out, okay, what are all the steps that people are going to take, or do you do it retroactively? Like, oh, we ran this campaign, now let's retarget people. Like, how do you think through that?
I'm more of a YOLO marketer, so we're just trying it out. Obviously, I'm in the business of generating demands, and leads are part of that. So we're not creating any risk with our ungated. But if it proves out over time, then we just fund that more and more, and it takes a larger chunk of the lead gen budget.
Got it. Nice. Marcel, Kaylee, anything to add on that or on either of those points?
I'm here for the YOLO marketer concept, but
I didn't know that was a thing. I thought that was just like what I did. Now I have a name for it. It's amazing.
I've never heard it, so it's got me a little bit caught up right now. But moving on. When I was at Chili Piper, we obviously were really proud metadata customers, and we just went full on no gate. The goal that was set before the new era of marketing team had joined there wasn't very clear as to like why we were gating. Obviously at the time we were the challenger brand in the space that needed to draw like an audience and build authority that we were the people that they should be looking to for advice and guidance. And so there's no reason for us at that point to put a gate. And we followed a methodology very similar to Jason's, in that we really just wanted to make sure that people, the right types of people, were getting served the ads and then following through and reading and digesting the content. If they engaged with us further, that was a bonus, right? Much to Mike's point, yeah, just making sure that we were layering on. Ours wasn't an immediate demo request asked after that, because normally our content was very top of funnel initially. We'd serve them more of a middle funnel piece that was more directly tied to what our product could actually do for them on a day-to-day basis, and then get to the like, will you marry me question and give them a demo.
Yeah, to me, it's less about gating too. It's more about the value exchange, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we found a lot of success doing campaigns to target things like a virtual event with 100 speakers. And we found that our cost per new subscriber was so much lower, and we were getting insane results. But then now we have this massive pool of retargeting that's also in our database, so we can couple multiple things, not just paid media. And so I think it's thinking through the value exchange and making sure you're delivering a ton of value every step of the way for your prospective customers.
Awesome.
Yeah,
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, speaking of value, I think that's one of the hardest thing with ungated tactics is it's like, how much is this blog post worth, and how much should I spend for a click, directing someone to that at the end of the day on the revenue? What's really cool is like when we have all this data, we can see which accounts saw that blog post. We can see how many of those accounts converted. We can see the LTV, and then we can say, hey, your max cost per click to be ROI positive is X. And if you have a campaign that's running that's going above that, we can automatically turn it off. So it really will like not only optimize towards quality engagement once we have that GA, but now we can make sure that even your brand campaigns are ROI positive too.
Awesome. All right, we have hit the mom jokes portion of this session, so we're gonna wrap it up. This is awesome. Thank you everybody for being here, for the thoughtful questions live, to all of our speakers, and wherever you are, just you took the time out of your day today to invest in yourself, learn a little bit more about what's going on at Metadata. I'm sure the folks at Metadata they're good marketers. They're going to follow up. They're going to send the recording. They're going to do everything they need to do after this. But enjoy the rest of your day. If you got anything new from this session, go to LinkedIn, tag Gil, Jason, the rest of the Metadata team, and let them know what you thought. Otherwise, we'll see you around. Enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.